Welcome to the Wingman Show, where we're floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. Welcome to the Wingman Show. My name is Commander Drew Brown. My wingman, my main man, one of those badass jet pilots, my man, Dr. Paul Thompson. What's up, Dr. Paul?
Hello, Mr. Drew. Good to talk to you. Glad to see you on this great day. We'll have a good show and hopefully something inspiring for those young and old and in between.
That sounds great. Why don't we start off with this quote? The soul that is within me, no man can degrade. That's Frederick Douglass right there, and I think that's a great way to start off. The soul that is within me, no man can degrade. All right, so we started off, we wanted to start off with a subject, and I sent this to Dr. Paul, and I sent him an article that said, Elijah Muhammad just graduated college at 13 years old. Now, for people who don't know who Elijah Muhammad is, there is an honorable Elijah Muhammad that was head of the Black Muslims, and that's very close to me because my dad trained Muhammad Ali. So I was in all that when Cassius Clay changed his name from Cassius Clay to Muhammad Ali. So it was really funny to see this headline of Elijah Muhammad. The truth is, this is a 13-year-old boy who graduated from college. And Dr. Paul, I'm going to let you talk about him, but I didn't realize this. I looked a little further. His 15-year-old sister has 2 associate's degrees already. What do you think about Elijah Muhammad being a college graduate at 13?
Yeah, well, congratulations to Elijah Muhammad. Yeah, he was apparently he's homeschooled by his dad, and I guess his sister was too. And he graduated from I guess a little community college in Oklahoma City, and he's headed to Oklahoma State. Isn't that where Marcus Smart played ball in college? Marcus Smart's a player for the Boston Celtics.
I think he did go to Oklahoma State.
I think Oklahoma State. Anyway, this Elijah Muhammad is headed there to further his studies. Is an interesting graduation picture. He's in cap and gown with his, I guess, classmates who are like 2 or 3 times his size.
And grown-ups.
Yeah, they're grown-ups. Yeah, they thought he was, when he was in class, they thought he was someone's child that, they didn't have childcare. So he was just sitting in the classroom. Didn't realize he was a student until he started to participate in the class, asking questions. Yeah, he said he's got like 10 certifications, IBM certifications or Microsoft certifications.
Yeah, he wants to be in cybersecurity, which we'll talk about in a minute here. It's one of the fastest growing jobs out there.
Yeah, I'm amazed at what some of these young, almost preteens are able to do.
It's incredible. And once again, good news is hard to find.
Yes.
What did you think about when I said Elijah Muhammad graduated college?
I was going to say, when in 19, like 23 or something like that, but it was just a couple of weeks ago.
Well, welcome to the Wingman Show, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. We want to welcome all our frequent flyers, and those are the people who listen to us every week. Thank you. And any new listeners, welcome, welcome, welcome. You can always go to our website, wingmanshow.com. That's wingmanshow.com. And matter of fact, you can ask us a question on our frequent flow line. We'll answer it to you. Follow us on Instagram. And definitely, if you watch us on YouTube, because we show a lot of pictures and Dr. Paul is so handsome. Watch us on YouTube and hit that subscribe button. We really would appreciate it. If you look behind me, I have a Superbad F-15 Strike Eagle. And today's Wingman that Dr. Paul is going to talk about is an incredible app that people should maybe have on their phone. Dr. Paul, what about these Strike Eagles?
Yeah, that's a Strike Eagle. I guess you've got a US one. I'm not sure where this one is from. I'm looking at the picture I have. It's got 2 circles on each wing, red. It's probably a foreign nation. Who flies them? US, Saudi Arabia, Israel, maybe another country. So who knows? It could be a mock-up of something. Yeah, quite an airplane. I like your picture there. Looks like he's deploying flares.
I just put in funky fast jet, and that's what
that came up. That's a good picture. He's deploying flares to deflect, I guess, incoming missiles. Heat-seeking missiles go for the hottest heat source. So hopefully we go for the flares instead of the airplane. That's a nice shot.
Thank you very much. Well, these F-15s, they go very fast, and that means they can pull a lot of Gs. And that goes right into our subject of GLOCK, because the name of the show here is how do we fly badass jets without our Glocks? Well, it's not a Glock, it's a GLOCK. And our marketing guy, Brandon from Mystical Marketing, he wanted to really know about that speed because last week we talked about breaking the sound barrier. And I'll be honest with you, Dr. Paul and I are very used to going very fast, but we have references because we fly 400 or 500 miles an hour low to the ground. So trees are zooming by us, mountaintops are zooming by us. When you go up high, like in an F-15 or F-14 or F-16, any of these planes that go supersonic, unless you're in the clouds, you don't have a reference of speed. So for Brandon, we always felt like we were smoking down there going 400 or 500 miles an hour. Huh, Paul?
Yeah, you're seeing things go past you. You know, you could, for reference, if you're high up in the air, you really don't have a good sense of it. But if you're driving a car along the road, maybe you're 10 miles an hour, it has a different picture than if you're doing 60, 70. So like, you know, Commander Drew's saying, now multiply that by like 6, and you're smoking, you're passing a tree or a bird or something, or you might even be below it. Yeah.
Oh,
So
no doubt.
very, very quickly.
You know what the scariest flying I ever did is at night on a moonlit night below the mountains in a valley. So you could actually see the mountaintops and you know that you're under the mountain range. Right. And do you know what I used to say to calm my nerves?
What's that?
It won't hurt.
True.
I swear to God, I'd be under there, my BN, my Bombardier Navigator. He would be saying, come left 2 degrees, come right 2 degrees. And all I'm saying is it won't hurt. It won't hurt.
Just listen to him. I never did anything like that, or we didn't have anything sophisticated to trust. They initially did, and that didn't work out too well. We didn't do that kind of thing. But
we were talking about GLOCKs, Dr. Paul, and a GLOCK is those F-15s or the A7s that you flew or A6s I flew. If you pull enough Gs, you can actually black out. And what happens is your vision goes like a cone. It goes all the way down to like a little straw. And if you let go, it widens back up. So you really can't ever pass out, because if you pass out, you'll release pressure on the stick. But that's what GLOCK is.
Yeah. That lock, LC, they just call GLC, loss of consciousness. And that can happen. And these modern airplanes, they can pull a lot of Gs. The airplane I flew would go a maximum of 7. I think even the F-18s are rated for like 7.5, maybe 8 at the most. But some of the F-15, 16s, the F-22s, I've heard they can get to above 10. Wow! And sometimes when they're doing their maneuvers, they're steadily doing that. And that can really happen. So you really have to be in good shape, and there's ways to kind of tense your stomach and try to keep breathing like little short breaths. It's important that you keep everything going. We wear typically people wear G suits.
That's right.
It keeps the blood from pooling to your feet, so it doesn't all come down from your brain. You know that you have negative Gs, because when blood goes down to your feet, basically you have hypoxia. You have blood hypoxia. Yeah. And same thing, if you have a lot of negative Gs, you can have just the opposite happen. You have too much blood and pressure going into your eyes, because our eyes are really, really sensitive. That's why, you have the tunnel vision. It's affecting your eyes quicker. You just notice it.
And negative Gs are very uncomfortable.
Extremely uncomfortable.
I'd rather pull positive Gs any day. That negative Gs and that floating, that it's almost like you're a loss of control.
Yeah, I used to like to do that all the time because nobody else would.
Well, you did it in a T2. You actually taught out of control flight where you had plenty negative. A
lot of those
in a T2.
And it affects your eyes, because I remember after doing it for a while, I had it because it was only 3 or 4 of us were doing it, and we developed these bloodshot eyes. You could see the veins popping in our eyes.
Oh wow!
And we all went to flight surgeons to say, well, what is this? They said, we don't know. How do you see? I said, I see fine.
Your eyes are a lead into this next story. Don't trust your eyes. AI has gone visual, Dr. Paul. And that means it's gone to Photoshop, and they're soon going to be able to speak a scene and AI will create it. That means, that really does mean that what you see doesn't necessarily have to be true anymore. And it was always, don't believe anything that you hear and half of what you see.
Right.
Well, now don't believe anything that you see and anything that you hear. But when AI goes visual, now any image that you see other than live can be manipulated. And this is just the very beginning of it, Dr. Paul. You know, when they studied AI, they just did a commission on it. And the word they used was extinction, human extinction. And it just makes sense. Think about it. If you made a machine smart, the smartest thing it could do is not turn off. And when it figures out that it doesn't have to turn off and it can turn you off, that's when we're in trouble.
That could be. You know, the other night I watched one of the Terminator movies again, just 3 days ago, Terminator 2, which is, you know, going 40 years old or so. And how cutting edge, how prescient that was, you know, forecasting everything. Basically, you kind of have Terminators now. They may not look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And even Arnold Schwarzenegger doesn't look like Arnold Schwarzenegger 40 years ago. But the concept is there. So watch out. There's older movie called 2001: A Space Odyssey. I think that was made in.
I never got
70s.
through that movie.
Yeah, it's kind of boring. Over a period of 40 years, I think I saw the whole thing. I could take about 10 minutes of it. But at the very end, I think the astronaut in charge wants to override the computer, and the computer says, I can't do that.
Well, this is the progress. How about this medical thing that just happened? A paralyzed man was able to walk again because they did a brain implant, and it was a digital bridge between his brain and his spinal cord. And it actually works by his thoughts. Now, that is medical. I sent that to Dr. Drew Brown IV, who's a spine surgeon, obviously my son. And he was like, wow, this is incredible, because that is Terminator kind of stuff, Terminator 2. That was our favorite movie also, me and the kids, because I had a big audio system. And when there's a lot of explosions in that movie, and we just used to love it. But what about this paralyzed guy walking through his thoughts?
Yeah. Basically, I guess they've got a kind of an electrical bridge that kind of bypasses the nerves in the spinal column and goes right from thoughts to deriving the movements that he wants to make, and just kind of bypassing that bridge and going from like step 1 to step 3. And they said he can even walk upstairs unassisted.
So we were talking about the brain and how a bridge can actually make your thoughts, make your muscles move, which is incredible. Paul, you know how we're talking about NBA players' salaries and baseball players' salaries and how much money they make, which is incredible now. I think Ali fought all his life and only made $55 million. Well, there's this soccer player named Benzema. He plays for Real Madrid. The Saudis are going to pay him $400 million to play for 2 years. Dr. Paul, the Saudis are now using money as a weapon. Believe it or not, you can't fight money that is not afraid to lose. Saudis have so much money. Losing money is not part of their scope in economics. They just want to become bigger than everybody else. So they're doing it with golf. I think they use the live games. They're starting to take some of the PGA players out. But Saudi Arabia wants to pay this guy $400 million, and I think he's going to go.
$200 million a year. That's not bad. Now, you said Ali made $55 million for all of his fights. Of course, that was a long time ago. That, there's just some individual fights that would pay double that.
We're now going against people who don't want to make profit.
Yeah, they just want the team. You know, when I saw that story, the first thing I thought of was the New York Yankees, because they've been accused of that also too. You know, the best players money could buy. That's
why, like a lot of sports, they have a cap on how much you can spend. because you can actually buy the best team in NBA. You can buy the best Major League Baseball. Well, that's what the Yankees try to do.
Right.
But there's a lot of sports that have caps on it, so that doesn't happen. Well, Saudi Arabia's cap is infinity.
Yeah, well, so I guess Saudi Arabia is trying to build their own dream team.
That's correct. And you know what? That brings us to our Wingman PSA from the Facts in Life. Fact number 9, perform continuous self-examination, overcome your weaknesses, and know when to ask for help. Dr. Paul, I believe knowing when to ask for help is power. And every time you check yourself, there's this serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Well, I realize that the only thing I can truly change is myself. And so all I need is the courage to change myself. And when I see I'm lacking in something, I need to improve in that. But I also learned that you're not being a tough guy when you don't ask for help. When you ask for help and use it, that is power, Dr. Paul.
Yeah, it makes you smarter. Basically, you have to have some self-reflection, look inside yourself, see where you are, see where you're lacking. And there's certain situations where maybe you don't want to do that, but there are other times where you really need to. Particularly if someone's giving you instruction, this is the time to take advantage of good teaching. Don't act like you know it all. You probably don't. Clear some things up. Make your path down the road easier, instead of doing the same thing over and over again and wondering why it's not working. I find that the case with a lot of computer stuff. A lot of times I ask a younger person, how you do it? Boom, 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 boom. It's fixed. I've been struggling with something maybe 10 minutes or 10 days. And they're, hey, why don't you just do this? I didn't know. Nobody told me. It's not written down. There's too much information. There's too much AI. There's 10,000 things. I need one. Just give me, that's just one or two. I don't need 10,000. So sometimes you can be overwhelmed with information. You've got too much. You may need help just sorting through the information.
Dr. Paul, I saw an article saying that Black doctors actually make Black patients live longer. And we started reading into it, and it is exactly true, except it's not Black and Black. It's culture. When you have a doctor that has the same culture as you, whether it's music or art or your background, you tend to listen to them more. One reason my son is such a good doctor is because he's very diverse and he can talk about so many different things to so many different people. And when you're comfortable with your doctor, you have this trust factor with him. So do Black doctors make Black people healthier? Yes. But I want to read the actual quote from this article that they didn't put in front, but I'm going to read it. Researchers said when doctors have similar cultures and lived experiences to the patients, they may be more likely to take their concerns seriously, which results in better life expectancy. And that's the real headline, Dr. Paul.
And that makes sense because one closer to the culture may know some of the common practices, particularly practices that may be counter to your health. Little things, probably a lot of things around eating certain foods, I'm going to guess. Yes. That's probably 80% of our problem, maybe 90% of our problem. Genetics probably a lesser factor than we admit. Well, I got bad genes or genes for this. No, it's the 10 pints of ice cream you had, half hour ago. It has a lot to do with it that you did for the last 25 years and wondering, why things are off and they're wrong.
Well, Dr. Paul, we have this Wingman flow line, and anybody out there listening, just go to wingmanshow.com. You can get all our shows on wingmanshow.com, but also you can ask us a question. And it's funny you brought up that topic because our Wingman flow line this week is from a 32-year-old guy from LA. He's over 300 pounds and he wants to change his life. He's obese. He doesn't know what to do anymore. And Dr. Paul, you just said it. So the advice from Commander Drew Brown is, first of all, it's what goes in your mouth. First of all, it starts with your mind. But the way to lose weight, the way to be healthy, the number one way is start watching what kind of fuel you put into your machine, and that's your body. When you put good gas in a car, it runs smoother. But exercise is not the total key. Exercise keeps your blood moving. Exercise is good for your lungs and your circulation. But what actually, if you want to lose weight, you have to eat less calories. You don't have to eat less, you just have to eat less shit. Excuse my language.
Yes.
But there's a lot of processed foods out there, a lot of carbohydrates, a lot of sugar out there. What I did, I lost 55 pounds. I stopped all carbohydrates and I stopped all sugar. I now do intermittent fasting. So I eat once a day. I think my window's between 4:30 and 7:30. It's a 3-hour window that I can eat. And that's intermittent fasting. And that's what got rid of weight for me. But it was definitely the stopping of the carbohydrates. And I meant not all carbohydrates, not vegetable carbohydrates. I'm talking about bread and pasta and pizza, French fries, all those carbs are gone. And the one thing I have to say is once you stop eating sugar and carbohydrates, you're not addicted to it anymore. And it doesn't draw you like it used to.
Yeah, I agree. It's a quote that I've seen ascribed to a lot of fitness pros, and it is true. In terms of exercise, they say there's no exercise program that's going to overcome a bad diet. So, what you put in your mouth is going to determine everything. I pretty much do the same thing. The intermittent fasting. I'll have something in the morning sometime. Typically, it's liquid. It's kind of a liquid smoothie. Everything's pulverized, all kinds of stuff in it. But oftentimes, I'm not really doing anything till noonish or so. I drink a lot of water. Of course, I do a lot of water and a lot of lemon juice in the morning. And that's a good way to kind of clear a lot of stuff out of your system. Tastes good also. But this whole thing of eating the 3 meals a day, we're kind of trapped into this 3 meal a day mindset, which I question. I've not eaten lunch probably 10 times in the last 20 years. I just don't. I skip that. And a lot of times I don't have breakfast either. That 1 meal a day is helped me a lot, particularly in the last 2 years. And I've already old enough to have just about gone around the sun 70 times. And I feel better now than I did 20 years ago. But I restricted my calories. Yeah, the bread and the pasta, that's the great tasting stuff. I did have a little toast the other night with some soup I made. But I cut down the breads a lot. Pasta occasionally, pizza maybe a slice every 4, 5, 6 months, slice or so. And that's about it. But the culture of having stuff every day, morning, noon, and night, yeah, that's where you pack on the pounds. And 300 pounds is a lot, unless you're about 8 feet tall. I mean, it's just a lot of weight. Even if you're a professional athlete at that weight, if you notice people that stay at that weight, they don't tend to live that long. You don't have a lot
there's no old fat people. I'm sorry. I think William Shatner blew our mind because he had a belly at 90. But
yes,
old people are not fat. If you look at all the people that are centurions, the 100s, the 105s, the 102s, the 99s, none of them are fat. Yeah. And for you in LA, I do want to just give you a start. Just start now. Don't worry about what happened yesterday. Don't worry about what's going to happen tomorrow. Worry about right now. So let's just start off with stopping sugar. Do it a little bit at a time. So all of a sudden we cut out sugar. Then the next thing to do, how about starting to drink a gallon of water a day? And how do you start with a gallon of water? You start off with a half gallon and you just keep adding water. So you do the sugar, then you do the water, then you stop the carbs. You do one thing at a time. Mm-hmm. A very big important thing for you to do is believe that this will work. And when you believe something will work, it works. And then means you'll start to exercise and you'll start to take walks. And all you have to do is start off with 1 block, then 2 blocks, or 1 mile, then 2 miles. But you have to start. Dr. Paul always says, move. But if you watch what you put in your mouth and you do exercise, you will lose that weight. I promise you, and your life will get better.
I agree. Yeah, do that. what he said, and try to break a sweat at least 3 days a week. And some of those
Well, we
pounds
promote health here very much so here on the Wingman Show. We want people to be healthy because in the end, that's what you have. You know, I was just in pain not too long ago. I had an operation that kind of cured the pain. But when you're in pain, you think of nothing else. You think of nothing else. Well, what a Wingman we have for you this week. Incredible. Dr. Paul is going to tell you about somebody who came up with an app that it's amazing. Dr. Paul, tell us about our great Wingman this week, Sidwa Pachapala.
Yeah, Sidhu Pachapala, again, another young man who did something really remarkable. This Sidhu Pachapala is a senior in a Texas high school. He's probably graduated now. When the story came out, he was a senior, and instead of going on a spring break, he actually went to Washington, D.C. to receive an award. Sometime prior, he participated in a science fair, a Texas Science and Engineering Fair, and he got first place in an app that he developed. It's called the SUI sensor, S-U-I, then sensor, S-E-N-S-O-R. And it's something that predicts the likelihood of suicide, which is very serious and well, for everybody, but particularly for children and young adults. But the SUI sensor was something that it's basically an algorithm that predicts likelihood of suicide based on diary entries and syntax, basically words that are used and the order that they're placed in. And they found that his invention, his app, had a successful prediction rate of about 98%.
Wow.
Sometimes a little bit less. And it was better than the current methods. And the current methods hadn't changed since the 50s. So this is something he came up with. And when he went to receive another award, he's, I guess, by the Regeneron Science, it's like a talent search in DC. He came in like 9th place in that. It was a nationwide thing. And he was actually awarded $50,000 for that.
Something tells me this kid with his brain, $50,000 is going to be a drop in the bucket.
It's going to be a drop. Yeah, he's headed to MIT. And even in high school, he was actually doing some data analytics for the University of California. They have something called an Edge Lab. So he's working there. Not bad for an 18-year-old. So he's basically doing something to help really mankind, not limited to the United States.
That's a Wingman for you right there. And everybody should know this number, 988. 988 is a suicide prevention hotline. And I will tell you this about suicide. My feelings of it is that somebody who's considering that hurts so many other people way beyond what you'll ever know. Way beyond what you'll ever know. And I do know this, that the sun does rise every day. And when there's hope, there's tomorrow.
Right.
So do what you can do right now so you can make a better tomorrow. And for all of our listeners out there, whatever is beautiful, whatever is meaningful to you, and whatever makes you happy, I wish it upon all of you listeners for today and forever. I pray for peace, Dr. Paul.
I pray for peace too. And again, we appreciate all those who listen, like, and subscribe to our message. If you're watching on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up. That helps with the algorithm and helps us spread the message. It just takes a second.
Thank you once again, Dr. Paul Thompson, my friend. Thank you for your love, your time, and that's something that we won't ever get back. I want to thank all the listeners, too. Thank you so much for doing the show, Dr. Paul. We're jamming.
Well, thank you, Mr. Drew, for inviting me on. Always good to talk to you. And ladies and gentlemen, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast or any of the podcasts. If you're looking at YouTube, they say smash the like button. Don't smash it. Just press it gently and use as a link to all your friends. You can also look at us on our website, wingmenshow.com, WINGMEN show, SHOW.com, altogether, wingmenshow.com. And we hope to see you in the future. Thanks again, Mr. Drew.
Oh, you're welcome. And we're still floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. May there be peace on earth and goodwill towards all men and women.